Gun rights advocates tout the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, protecting, quote, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, but that may not mean equal rights for black gun owners. Gerald Higginbotham is a researcher at the University of Virginia. He says efforts to limit black gun ownership date back to the slavery era.
One of the biggest threats in people's minds were, enslaved people rebelling. And a lot of the laws at that time actually targeted, the rights of free and black people and their access to weapons generally, including firearms, to kind of mitigate that threat.
A variety of restrictions on black gun ownership extended well into the 20th century. In the 1960s, a state law was passed in California banning the open carrying of loaded weapons in response to the militant Black Panthers organization conducting armed patrols. The law passed with the support of the National Rifle Association and white conservative politicians. Fast forward a half a century, and it's common to find mostly white conservative activists protesting while heavily armed. Higginbotham's research indicates that many pro-gun activists view white gun owners and black gun owners very differently.
It's typically what you see is that white Americans who have these stronger anti-black attitudes are, the most in support of gun rights or the most opposition to gun control. And what we showed in the research is that when making these white Americans think about, black Americans using and utilizing their rights, they're actually less in opposition to gun control.
They are style pistols.
Philip Smith is president of the National African American Gun Association. He says it's still often difficult for blacks to legally own firearms.
Because you look in some urban cities where a lot of African Americans live, they are not allowed to have rights to get a firearm as easy as some of their rural brothers.
Smith argues black Americans, especially those living in high-crime urban areas, could benefit from higher gun ownership.
Crooks only pick on folks that they're looking at as an easy target. And if you turn that around, I think that's the beginning of a process where you can have a stable economy, stable community, and a safe economy and a safe community where you live at.
Smith acknowledges the largely white pro-gun community has not always been welcoming of black gun owners.
There is a tension that's out there for some folks, not all, that don't really want our community to have firearms. They do view us as a threat, and that's unfortunate. What we have to do as a people is to say, okay, that exists, but that's not going to prevent us from protecting our families.
Black gun ownership in the U.S. is on the rise, which may help change how black gun owners are viewed.
We don't buy into the notion that the Second Amendment is for Republicans or old white guys. This Second Amendment is for everyone.
Of course, people who oppose gun ownership say the answer is fewer guns, not more guns, but the role of race can't be ignored.
For gun rights or for gun control, you have to take into account how racism pervades this debate.
Jim Spellman, CGTN, Washington.